Australia's population is set to exceed 40 million people in the coming decades. But where are these people coming from and where are they going to live? Joining me now is Leith Van Onselen, macro business co-founder and chief economist. Terrific to have you on again, Leith. Are you concerned about the forecast? Can our population handle it? And is it a problem when we've got a housing crisis at the moment?
Oh, look, absolutely, Sharri. It's a massive problem. Under the Intergenerational Report's projections, Australia's population is going to grow by 14.2 million people in just 40 years. Now, to put that into perspective, that's like adding another Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Adelaide to Australia's existing population, current population, in just 40 years. Now, I think your viewers would agree that Australia hasn't handled the last 20 years of extreme immigration very well. Our population has grown by 7.4 million people this century, and we've obviously seen the impacts. We've got massive shortages of housing. We've got congested roads and public transport. We haven't got enough school places, enough hospital beds, etc., etc. The list goes on. So, obviously, if you're going to grow the population by 14.2 million people, where are the houses going to come from? Where's the infrastructure going to come from? It was only 4 years ago that we were experiencing a severe drought, and Sydney was coming close to running out of water. So what are we going to do next time drought comes around and we've got literally 14 million more people here? Sure, we can build wall-to-wall desalination plants, but that's very expensive. That's also environmentally destructive. And my final point is the Albanese government has committed us to net zero by 2050. Now, how are we going to achieve net zero when the population has grown by more than 50%? And the built environment, so housing and infrastructure, actually accounts for a quarter of Australia's carbon emissions on its own. So we're going to have to build 5.5 million homes, as well as a whole bunch of infrastructure, which is obviously going to blow our carbon budget out of the water. So the whole thing doesn't make sense. And it's a recipe for a high-rise future where everyone's living in high-rise slums, basically suffering a degraded environment and degraded living standards.
Leith, you've written a report that Australia has chosen this population growth strategy over productivity growth. We're also seeing the Intergenerational Report that's going to be handed down on Thursday this week that goes to some of these issues about productivity, how it's been declining. What does this show about how the slowing productivity is going to affect our living standards?
Yeah, so basically, look, there's nothing new in this report. We've known about Australia's demographic challenges for literally decades, that Australia's got an ageing population. And what that effectively means is we're going to have an expanding, base of old people versus taxpayers. But this has been known for years. And the problem with it is immigration doesn't solve this problem. It doesn't actually solve it, because what it effectively means is that, yeah, sure, you can solve population, you can delay population aging, but those migrants that go old. And effectively, the solution is to actually grow our productivity growth over the long run. Now, unfortunately, running a high immigration program actually wrecks productivity, because what it does is it reduces the amount of capital per worker. And we've seen this, and what it means is if the population is growing faster than the business investment, the housing supply and infrastructure, it effectively means that you have more congestion across the economy and productivity actually goes down. So unfortunately, look, Australia does need to lift its productivity, but the federal government's gone the lazy approach just by bringing in a whole bunch of people, rather than actually addressing the root causes through tax reform and other things.
Are you concerned that the Albanese government, and particularly Tony Burke, is pursuing industrial relations reform that would actually impact negatively on productivity, rather than, allowing business to easily hire employees?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a hard one, isn't it? Look, certainly, I think there does need to be, some certain greater protections for workers. We've obviously had, decades of, a decade plus of very, very low wage growth. But again, a better solution would be not to flood Australia with, copious amounts of people to compete against those workers, rather than just simply, adding regulations to the economy.
All right, Leith Van Onselen, thank you very much for your thoughts today.